What's up, guys? Welcome back to another I'd Popcorn for That review. I'm Chris,
I'm Nick.
and today we are talking about Love Lies Bleeding. So this is the sophomore effort from director Rose Glass, who previously directed Saint Maud, also with A24, and we're going to get into it in just a second.
Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby.
I'm a OG boy. Know that they ride or die. I keep boys by my side. Know that they ride or die. I keep boys by my.
All right, guys, before we get into it, we want to remind you it helps us out a lot if you hit like below and also subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. We are trying to get to 1,000 subscribers before the end of this year. But so what is this movie about? What is Love Lies Bleeding about?
It is about a reclusive gym manager, Lou, played by Kristen Stewart, falls hard for Jackie, played by Katie O'Brien, an ambitious bodybuilder headed through town to Las Vegas in pursuit of her dream. But their love ignites violence, pulling them deep into the web of Lou's criminal family.
Yeah, what a freaking wild movie, dude.
Yeah.
I am extremely excited to talk about what happened in this thing. So, what did you think about it? I like this a lot, by the way. I'll just get I'll just
I do like it a lot. I do feel like it kind of started off pretty slow, but once it started to build up, it really took off and gets a little crazy and wild, and it was very interesting. And I forgot it was by the director of Saint Maud, and that movie I loved as well. And they seemed like pretty different movies until I guess you have some things that we can talk about that. But now that
I think there's some
I'm
similarities.
kind of seeing some similarities. Yeah.
I certainly don't think if I went into this movie not knowing it was Rose Glass or not knowing that she directed Saint Maud, I wouldn't have noticed similarities. It's just
Right.
going into it knowing that I did. But yeah, what a crazy movie. And I got to say right off the bat, it's really funny to me because it just so happens, it has nothing to do with anything, but it just so happens that we just watched Blood Simple because we were going to watch Drive Away Dolls. Okay. Because they're both Coen Brothers movies. But I think this movie has some funny things in common with both of those. It's kind of like the blood simplification of Drive Away Dolls.
Dude, I was kind of
weird...
thinking a similar thing, except for I was kind of thinking of The Passenger a little bit, but I think Blood Simple is probably better than The
or Fargo.
Passenger.
But it's that same kind of really dark. This is really not very much a comedy, you know.
No,
there's a little bit of comedy here to kind of soften it a little bit. But it's just like that dark, gritty kind of movie. It feels it can be a little gross, this movie.
Yeah, it was.
Not just from the gore and stuff like that, but people look kind of greasy.
Greasy. Ed Harris looks like the Crypt Keeper.
Ed Harris looks like the Crypt Keeper.
Yeah.
Oh my God. His look in this is iconic, dude. Immediately iconic. Him bathed in that red light, dude. Oh my God. But
yeah,
that was just a last minute choice too. He wore the wig while they were testing some screenings, and he just decided it wasn't supposed to stay in.
Hey,
I think that was his idea.
Worked.
It works, yeah. And just the way I think that this movie doesn't handhold you through it at all. There's not a lot of plot being explained at you. There's no exposition here. You kind of just have to figure it out, and it trusts you to. And I think you can. You can figure it out. It's not like a real complicated thing. But I just like that it does a lot of showing and not telling.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean the brutality of the murders and stuff that happen in this movie. Dave Franco just gets his jaw smashed in.
Oh my God.
Yeah, that was pretty brutal. And
that's pretty early on. That's the first taste of anything really brutal.
Yeah, and then I thought the sex scene with him and Jackie O'Hara was kind of funny. But it's really graphic with the all the sex scenes and stuff. But I mean, done in a good way, I guess.
It's done right. I think it's there's a way to do this wrong where it's gratuitous or something like that. But I think it was needed for the story.
Yeah.
And when we first see Jackie, she's having sex with like you just mentioned, JJ, Lou's brother-in-law, to get a job. And so your first meetings with her is you see how much desperation she's in. She needs a job desperately. she doesn't have a place to stay. She's like staying at like at the peak of an
Yeah, like
overpass,
living under
kinda,
an overpass. Yeah, basically.
and just spending all her time working out. And then she's just like you said in the description, like she's trying to get to Vegas to be in this bodybuilding competition. And this is just a stop along the way. She's just trying to find a place to stay and place to work out. The other side of it is, if you don't know her, like Lou's perspective on this is just watching her work out in the gym and thinking she's just a specimen over there. And it's just funny, like you can't see the desperation in that person if you're just seeing them working out in the gym. You don't see that they're homeless or whatever. And anyway, so pretty quickly they form this relationship, which is funny because it's like kind of over peer pressure over steroids.
Yeah, I don't know. It did seem like, so they kind of like talk about it later in the movie where JJ makes this comment like, she used me to get a job. Now she's using you for your place to stay. And it kind of seems like that maybe could have been how their relationship did start out, like with Kristen Stewart. And then Kristen Stewart offered her free steroids. And, but
Yeah,
they
she's like,
obviously did.
She's like, don't you want to just do a little bit?
Yeah, and they obviously did develop a relationship. So maybe it was like a place to stay. And then they ended up, kind of falling in love and everything.
Steroids in this movie, by the way, are used in a pretty like surreal way. Like, I don't think, you wouldn't want to take your takeaway from this movie should not be that this is just exactly how steroids do. Like, I could see somebody being like, did steroids do this? Because damn, dude.
Like, I mean, she was taking them in excess there for a little while.
She's taking them in excess.
I
but
don't
it's like
think they cause like hallucinations and stuff like she was having.
I mean, maybe extreme doses. I don't know, but it's obviously used as a stylistic choice. And then also like just those shots, like up close shots of like muscles like inflating to the point where you can hear the sounds of them inflating. But I think that was one of the things that actually reminded me of Saint Maud in a funny kind of way, because there were things in Saint Maud that were like, they were like little vignettes punctuated all throughout it of like a weird surreal thing happening, and then it would like abruptly cut back to normal grounded reality. And I think that's what this movie did too, just like Saint Maud, is like the format is like give you a normal story that slowly tiptoes into the surreal, dips his toe into the surreal, and then at the end you get the full meal of surreal. And and your experience with this, and we'll get into it in a minute. I want to talk about it in more depth. But your experience with this movie, I think, or your enjoyment of this movie is going to hinge a lot, I think, on how much you can handle a movie being very grounded, and then at the very end taking a hard left turn into surreal town. And if you can deal with that, then
I feel like they kind of build it up, and you can kind of tell something crazy might happen in this movie. The way that they,
because she gives you little samples of it all throughout. Yeah. She's like the bulging muscles and like there's a scene where somebody's watching like an old animated movie of Gulliver's Travels and the giant, with Lilliputians and everything. So,
well, even when she's like standing over Dave Franco's dead body, she's looking bigger than she normally does.
Yeah, yeah. I almost think there's some like deeper meaning behind the sheer amount of like puking there is in this movie. It's almost like there's like a metaphor here with puking or something, because
a lot
of people puke.
And there was one of the times when that Daisy character puked right before, I don't know why she threw up, but it was interesting.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It felt like it almost needed to have like a narrative purpose, and I can't exactly figure out what it was. So tell us, if you see this movie, tell us in the comments what you think all the puking's about. Maybe it's about nothing, but that was one that didn't feel like it made sense with this. It's like, why have her? By the way, standout. So tons of great performances here, but I thought like the standout performance you could miss the importance of here was Daisy.
Yeah.
I think Daisy was such a good like element here, because it keeps throwing a wrench in everything. Like it's like things could go a little smoother.
Right.
But the thing that makes it where a movie has to happen is we got Daisy keeps showing up.
Yeah.
Because Daisy is just super infatuated on Lou, Kristen Stewart's character, and the feeling is not mutual.
Yeah.
Maybe it was an old thing or whatever, but when they're talking about like the lesbian bars and stuff, that was one of the moments where I couldn't help but think of like, man, I just watched a movie about featured heavily lesbian bars heavily. All the violence is done in a way that I thought was like shocking. Like it never prepares you for it. Nothing ever builds up to it. It's just everything's like a very sudden kind of violence. And if you watch a few of our videos, I guess that's the way I like it to be, where it's like, because that's how it is in real life. You don't have a you're not prepared for it. Something just happens, and it's like, oh, now you deal with it. Now that it's
Right.
happened, you're dealing with the reality of it. So I appreciated that here, because I really could not anticipate a lot of the moves in this movie. I mean, how predictable
Yeah.
would you even say this is? It's not.
I mean,
Maybe some elements, maybe
some elements.
the fact that Ed Harris doesn't
Well, they
succeed ultimately
definitely,
is maybe the
yeah.
most predictable element.
Yeah, and I think one thing that kind of got me is there's a big thing about like what happened to Lou's mother, and they keep showing this scene where this guy gets shot in the head prior, and that's the thing you're talking about, like with it being all in red, and it makes it seem like Ed Harris shot this guy. And I was like, oh, I bet what happened here was Lou's mother's lover or something like that. And the reveal is going to be that they killed the mom and this guy at the same time. But the reveal is that Lou killed this guy for her dad. And like that was something I didn't see coming.
And by the way, you don't, unless I miss something, you don't really find out for sure what happens with the mom.
Yeah.
She could be dead. Lou thinks she's probably dead, but you don't get like a confirmation on that. I thought also the way they do flashbacks in this movie, where it's always bathed in red light, which is, I'm assuming it's like car lights is the idea, but it's very like stylistic. Everything is bathed in red light, and the way they always show flashbacks like that, and it's always flashbacks with dad and the guns and stuff like that. And then the first time we see Lou and her dad together is at the hospital when her sister gets beat up so bad by JJ. And the first time they have a conversation with each other, they're standing in front of a Coke vending machine, and it bathes both of them in red light. And I was like, this is good movie making. I don't know if that,
Yeah, but I mean that's not the first conversation they have really, because they have a conversation by the bed, and then that's later after like they find.
Well,
out
okay, that is
everything.
true. But I guess my point was
yeah.
like, I don't think the Coke machine thing was accidental. I
No,
thought they were like,
I don't
you guys
think
should
so.
stop in front of the Coke machine and have a conversation in red light.
Yeah.
Because it's like the moment he realizes there might be something fishy going on with his actual daughter. But yeah, and the bodybuilding, we got to talk about the bodybuilding scene, because her hallucination during that scene is crazy. Like I think that's going to be the the TikTok reaction type moment on this movie is watching, because she basically, a lot of things happen, but she basically gives birth to adult Kristen Stewart out of her mouth, and it turns out what she's actually doing is throwing up on stage in the middle of a performance.
Yeah,
that she was and she was doing pretty good,
As far as we
it's
know.
like kind of, it seemed like she was on a roll, and then she's like in another world.
Yeah.
Dave Franco is super hateable in this movie.
Yeah, I would say so.
I would say.
It's a big piece
And
of shit.
I mean, Jenna Malone doesn't have a whole lot to do, but I thought Jenna Malone was good in this.
Is that the sister?
Kind of like her every time she pops up. Yeah,
Okay.
kind of like her in most things.
She looked familiar.
It's also, yeah, she's on like the Hunger Games movies.
Okay.
And she was the little girl in Contact. Have you ever seen that? It's an interesting, like, random thing too, but like almost. So the director and both of the main characters are like, it's like all of these people are the exact same age as each other,
really?
which I thought was kind of a cool thing. Is like the director's picking people
It's like
exactly the same age.
mid-30s.
They're actually almost exactly my age, all of them.
Oh, okay.
Like 89. They're 89 babies.
Dang.
But yeah, just cool to see like somebody from our generation or my generation or whatever doing, making some moves, and I think this is I'll call it early and say I think this is Rose Glass's kind of gateway into the mainstream filmmaking, and I think she could do some big things from this.
Yeah.
Maybe not, I know it's like a little avant-garde and a little out there and a little artsy and stuff, but I think you could say the same thing about Denis Villeneuve's early stuff.
Right, and I mean,
And look where he's at.
With this and Saint Maud, I think those are two pretty great outings. I think
They really
both
are
good movies that I would definitely recommend for people to watch.
Mm-hmm. I'll say one other thing at least, which is just random, but I didn't really think about it until like the movie was over for some reason.
Mm-hmm.
But this man really named his daughter Lou Jr. Like he wanted a junior. He wanted a junior so bad that he named Kristen Stewart Lou Jr.
Was she a junior? I didn't know.
Well, I
that
mean,
came
I don't
up
know if
anywhere.
it says that, but he's Lou Senior, and
That's
it says
true,
Senior.
man. I didn't even think about that. Yeah, that's funny.
Also, so I don't know Katie O'Brien from anything else before this, but I thought this was a really impressive performance from her. This is so that was probably the standout role of the movie for me. Except that I also think this is some of the best acting I've seen out of Kristen Stewart.
Yeah.
I just know her from a lot of other things, but I thought this was really, really, like top notch stuff from Kristen Stewart. But Katie O'Brien was kind of the scene stealer, and I know she has been in some other stuff, but I think this is almost the only thing that's not a TV show that she's in. So she's been on a few TV shows, and then she was some role on the last Ant-Man movie.
Oh, okay.
So this is but this is kind of her breakout, I think. So be interesting to see where she goes from here.
She was really good. We got to talk about the very end of the movie though. When
We got to talk about the very end
yeah
of the movie, yeah.
because she's this supernatural element kind of comes in the whole time, like he was saying, when she takes steroids. There's kind of a little thing where her bicep gets huge or whatever, and at the very end of the movie, she has a Hulk transformation, and then is all of a sudden 20 feet
She-Hulk.
tall. And,
Yeah.
just comes over and slams, picks up Ed Harris and then puts him on the ground and breaks his arms.
Yep.
What
And then
the
holds
hell
him down.
was this?
And also Kristen Stewart doesn't even react like any of this is unusual. Like we're fully in another world right now. And but the thing is it's not really played off like that didn't actually happen, because
It had to have happened.
You are to presume that he gets arrested after that.
Yeah.
Because Kristen Stewart puts a gun in his mouth. You think she's about to kill him, and then she decides to take the higher road and let the cops deal with this or whatever, and they run off. And you get a little surreal scene with them running through the clouds together, maybe they're both giant, which I thought was a great scene. But it's okay, so I guess that's what happened. It's not an imagined thing. That's what happened. She gets giant. She takes so many steroids that she gets giant. And I guess it's what was your takeaway from that? What do you think the bigger messages of that? Because it feels like there's got to be a underlying thing, right?
I guess, but at the same time, it's did she act? I don't know. It's really strange. Did she get giant because they're also driving in the truck after that? Maybe. I don't know.
Because there's a part of me that thinks that the message of it is this was Jessica taking the role of protector,
Jackie.
The strong protector for Lou, and the protector that she never had. Maybe we don't know her relationship with her mom, but obviously her dad was not there for it. So it's her officially reclaiming that position as protector for her. But then the other side of that is the thing that perverted her relationship with her father was that she ended up abetting his, being part of his crime world, and also because he eliminates all competition,
Yeah,
so,
and it was kind of alluded to that she kind of helped find all the rats. And they said she was had a psychic.
So we don't know to what degree she played a role in all this, but obviously she wants to put that behind her, and she doesn't like talking about him or talking to him because that reminds her of that part of her past, and she's ashamed of all this and all that.
Right.
So I think she's done with all that. She wants to move on and start this different life, but the bittersweet ultimate ending of the movie is that they're in that car, and while the credits roll, you hear Daisy, who isn't dead, in the back seat.
Oh yeah, she got shot earlier, by the way.
She got shot earlier in the cheek, and so she's not actually dead. And so they're driving down the road, and you hear her kicking around in the back of the truck, and Lou has to go strangle her.
Yeah.
Put her out of her misery. And she just does it coldly, it's not even really bothering her. And then she drags her out and to dispose of her or whatever. I did walk out before the whole thing was completely over, because it was just credits, and I get it. But it felt like that was kind of them saying yeah, might not have fully gotten out of it.
Right.
You might be entering into a much more similar relationship than you had with your father than you would have thought.
Yeah.
Because it looks like your life is just gonna. This lady's crazy. She's got roid rage like nobody's ever had it before, ever in history, and she's gonna go on a rampage. If not intentionally, but it's if you're gonna have this life with this woman, she's unhinged. She's gonna completely annihilate people, and you're gonna be the cleanup crew for her. And it seems like she's walking into that role. I already got the red jumpsuit, baby. Let's go.
I did it before. I'll do it again.
Yeah, because the first time she cleans up, like the first time she has to clean up for her, the first time you see Kristen Stewart do that, you're like, well, this is not the first time you've done this.
Right.
And you have like a uniform for it. All right. Well, what would you rate this film?
I'm gonna give it like an 8.5. I did like it a lot, but I do feel like it was kind of a slow build until it really started to get going.
I thought there was a lot to like here. I think it's like sexy and dirty and like violent, and it's like all the things you want.
Yeah.
And I didn't find it as slow. Maybe in the very beginning, but for the most part, I was tense through the whole thing. And there's all these like scenes that make you hold your breath and all this. So I would give this a 9, man. Solid 9. Really great movie. Nice to watch some good ones back to back.
Yeah.
So thanks for watching, guys. We will see you in the next one. I appreciate you watching as always.
See ya.
Get you wiggles out of you. You know what I'm saying? Come on.
Wiggle it out.